Joining us now is John Solomon. He's editor-in-chief of Just the News, best-selling author, Great American. John, first of all, thanks for being here. This news on a group of, comprised at least of a number of Oath Keepers, leading a mob, organizing a substantial number of it, agitating apparently, and becoming provocateurs. Your thoughts?
Well, listen, I think the most important part in the indictment from the political question here in Washington is the FBI alleges these plans date to January 1st. There were detailed planning going back to January 1st, 6 days before the riots began, to carry out this violence. That is the FBI's now theory of the case in bringing these conspiracy charges. Why is that important? Well, we just heard Mitch McConnell a few hours ago say, well, the president incited this mob. It turns out that this attack was underway and being planned long before the president gave his speech. And I think even the Washington Post begrudgingly acknowledged that the planning for this today, for the first time, begrudgingly acknowledged the planning for this was long before the president's speech. That's why this impeachment was, when it was rushed as such, left out so much important fact gathering. And we're now just beginning to get the outlines of what appears to be a pretty well-formed prior plot to attack the Capitol.
And this is emanating from the FBI itself.
It is, from the intercepted communications of the perpetrators, and including even on the day of, while they were storming the Capitol, these Oath Keepers were communicating with each other saying, let's stick to our plan. So in real time, they were referencing a plan. They went back and found the early planning in electronic communications. A very different story than what we were told in the first 24 hours. As often happens in a tragedy, we often find out much later the truth of what really happened.
Yes, and I think that the radical left in this country has a unique record among all partisans in trying to exploit any emergency, any crisis for political benefit. But to see Mitch McConnell, the #1 Republican in the U.S. Senate, pile on without any evidence whatsoever of what he was alleging. And in fact, what he was alleging is now disputed by the FBI itself and its charges against these militia members. It's outrageous to see what the rhinos are doing here. We understand that not only have the rhinos been also blocking the release of the documents the president has declassified and is trying to release to the public, but now they are attacking the president. They won't be attending his farewell, his departure from Andrews Air Force Base, as I still call it. Instead, McCarthy and McConnell and the bunch will be absent. This is a vicious number of people who I find contemptible. What do you think?
Well, listen, the most important thing I'm focused on in now the 19 remaining hours that President Trump has in office is getting those declassified documents to the public. It's important to me to close the loop on all of the work that you and I and Sean and others have done. I have confirmed with the FBI that the documents have been declassified and that they've provided a declassified set to the White House. I've confirmed for the White House that the order has been signed. I'm going to be working late tonight to make sure that before Donald Trump leaves office tomorrow, these documents make it into the American public. Because when you want to talk about the viciousness of the plot against the president or the guy's misconduct with Christopher Steele and others is going to be laid bare by these documents, it will be the ultimate historical collection showing just how bad the bureaucracy and other political leaders in Washington treated this president.
It will also, that release of those documents will show, as we already know, that the FBI for some time has been basically a paramilitary police working for the Democratic Party, even taking the plot conjured by Hillary Clinton, the opponent of Donald Trump in 2016, and giving it life and energy and using it as a bludgeon to take up against him personally and his candidacy. There has been no accounting. Will there be as a result of these documents in your best judgment?
Well, they certainly will allow the American people to see that the FBI knowingly and willfully carried out Hillary Clinton's political dirty trick after learning she was behind it, after learning that Christopher Steele thought it was part of his motive to do this. And that will no longer be in question that that occurred. It also will no longer be in question that the FBI did specifically spy on the Trump campaign, targeted the campaign, not just Carter Page. They had a plot for how they were going to target and spy on the campaign going back to August of 16. A lot of the misstatements and lies that the FBI leadership of that era told us get debunked by these documents. And I think for history's sake, that's important. Now it's up to John Durham to see if he can bring some accountability to people who clearly intentionally misled the courts and the Congress.
Yeah, I think we've all been misled about what Mr. Durham is actually doing and when he might conclude his pitiful efforts. Gina Haspel has resigned as head of the CIA. Why now? And don't you think that she is singularly responsible for making certain that the CIA assessment of Chinese involvement in our elections was blocked?
The entire intelligence community tried to block its release until after President Trump's departure, which is unfortunate given that there was a legal requirement to deliver it more than a month ago. But DNI Ratcliffe got that information out. I wonder if Gina Haspel's resignation has anything to do with the last-minute efforts to continue to get documents to the American people on things like Russia, China, and others. There's been tension between her and the White House for some time over giving the American people transparency. And it's unfortunate if that's the reason she's leaving. A CIA director should be willing to give the American people as much transparency as she possibly can. And that's not been the hallmark of her tenure.
Not hers nor her predecessor.
That's right.
As well. John Solomon, will we have those documents tonight?
I won't go to bed until I get them, Lou. I promise. We're going to get those things out one way or another. But it is frustrating that we're only 19 hours from the departure of the president and we don't yet have them. But they're declassified. They're ready to be distributed. We're going to get them tonight, and I'm going to work through the night to get them all up to the American people so that Joe Biden is not tempted to reclassify them tomorrow.
Well, you know he would be. And you also, I'm sure, well, I'll speak only for myself. It's my strong belief that there is significant energy behind the manipulation of the release of these documents. And I can't wait to see to what end. John Solomon, thanks for everything you do and have done. We appreciate it. Good to see you. John Solomon.